This is a quick update on the Bible lesson series, which seems to be watched more by detractors than supporters by the votes. But anyway, I just finished the upload on Job this morning, and of course it had 8 downvotes in less than, I think, 5 minutes, which again, this is people are not watching the videos, they're just voting on it. But anyway, for what it's worth, I'm going to do them anyhow. Nobody's going to stop me from that, because it's what I'm here to do. So, but since I finished Job, I'm going to sit back and see what to do next, because I'm not sure what I want to do with the Psalms and Proverbs. They're kind of just, you just read it in each section or verse and think about it, but I'm not sure how I want to approach those yet. And at the same time, I think there's some interest in going over the New Testament again, even though I have a series on that already from last year. They're very long. They were live hangouts. And so I think the best thing to do is just do them over as hopefully about half-hour segments. So that's what I'm going to do. And I think I'll like I said, the next upload, I'll make a new playlist and have the next upload being on the Gospels. So, otherwise, there's been events in conspiracy realm, especially the Flat Earth realm, that another defection, so-called, but, and I think it's ironic, the main detractor who downvotes my videos is probably the one doing this, but he now is the proud owner of a blue wrench at a Ball Earther channel, so the irony. But anyway, the reason people move from one belief system to another, no matter what kind of belief system it is, H33s, is because they didn't have a firm anchor. And this is a big Christian issue as much as for anybody else, but a lot of people are treating Flat Earth like a religion. I've said it from the beginning. They're going through all the stages of Christian history, and stages that churches and individuals go through. They are all gung-ho at the first, they're wide awake, they can't believe the change. Hey, Mark. And they are all for it, and everybody's, kumbaya, and everything's great. And then as time goes on, personalities split apart, and the people break off into factions. You've got different factions in Flat Earth. You have all sorts of 8-bell box. And these stages, I've done videos on it like 2 years ago on the stages, but this latest one, the issue of defections, is, again, because people don't have any concept of truth. They don't have any objective standard by which to measure anything, and so it's easy to push them away to something else. So this is why that happens, and especially there's this push in Flat Earth community to not know anything. There's a lot of people who pride themselves on not knowing anything, not being sure of anything, and they mock you for being sure and having convictions. But then they get tossed around by, as the Bible puts it, every wind of doctrine. Somebody comes along with a new idea or a good persuasion that isn't necessarily factual or superior logically, it's just more persuasive. That's why debates are not really debates. They're more about persuading people at the moment, and that's what happens when you have no anchor. That's the parable Jesus told about the seeds and the sower. It was all about the soil, not the seeds or the sower. It was about what kind of seeds what kind of soil or surface the seeds landed on, and a lot of people in the so-called truther movement don't have any depth at all. So that's why they are easily pushed out of one big awakening to another, because they don't know how to tell what truth is, or they don't have any discernment because they don't have any standards. And they say that you shouldn't be arrogant and say you found truth. Well, you can look for it, but you can't find it. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. But that's why people defect. And there are so many people who say they used to be Christians who aren't anymore. And it's on the flimsiest, stupidest reasons. But that's the way it is. Hey, G Consciousness. yeah, I'm pretty much not participating except to say hi here and there in flat Earth hangouts. It's just gone to seed. It's gone rancid. It's gone total drama. The way of the world, the powers that be have, you know, this is their Hegelian dialectic. It happens everywhere, and people in that think they're the most awake are the most vulnerable to being misled. So, but like I said, I've when it comes to the Christian community, things are not any better because, as you can see, I get more support from, more attention from detractors than Christians or flat earthers or anybody else. The people who don't like me pay more attention to my videos than the people who do, which is kind of odd, but I don't know. You guys can try to figure that out, but yeah, there is no community of either flat earthers or Christians. There is no community. There is no same team. There is no spoon. It's a chaotic free-for-all, which some people think is great, but then they shouldn't cry and whine when somebody defects from one big awakening to another. That's what happens when you have no standards and no objectivity. That's just the way it is. But mainly, I just think it's ironic that people who can't wait to get rid of me out of Flat Earth are now moderators at Ball Earth Channels. So figure that out. But I haven't look. It looks like we have. I haven't. This watch page doesn't tell you a whole lot, really. I'm told in the chat that there are 6 watching and 4 downvotes already. I know who's doing it. But anyway, it doesn't matter who's doing it because they don't matter because they don't think I matter. So how are they any better? You know, if I don't matter, neither do they. But yeah, there is no place to hang out. The Christian channels ban me as much as the Flat Earther channels, and for the same reasons. Unorthodoxy. I mean, Flat Earthers say, let's get rid of religion. Let's get it out. Well, they're saturated in religion without any mainstream organized religions. They're saturated in it. It's the same attitude. It's the same mentality. It's the same us versus them, the same evangelism. They go out doing street activism. They make flyers and pamphlets, and some of them are advocating not only graffiti but destruction of property. And then they think they have their moral high ground. I just don't. I can't help them. Thank you for the kind compliment. We don't get a whole lot of those, but I will keep on regardless. I just wonder, you know, I used to think, well, why are the Christians not coming around, you know, saying anything, saying hi or anything? And it's because there aren't any. I'm not saying no Christians at all. You guys are here, but very, very few compared to how many there should be by this time in history. Let's see. We're in the parking lot eating, and the security guard came up and knocked on your door and asked me for your driver's license. What the? That's got to be 7 different kinds of illegal. I mean, you're minding your own business in your car, and they want to see your license? Okay. But that's kind of what online communities do too. They want to see your creds. They want to see what you're doing. They want to see whether you're an activist. They want to see if you're making content, and they want to see if you're walking the orthodox line according to flat earth control freaks. That's what they do. And good job, Mark. Hope you didn't get a ticket for that. For being uppity and independent and asking him what the heck he thinks he's doing just because he has a badge. But anyway, I don't know what to tell you about communities in general. They just don't seem to exist as far as I can tell. They're held together by the thinnest lines from what I can see, because people come and go all the time and nobody misses you if you leave, and except your critics who can't seem to help themselves following you wherever you go. And so I don't know. I just don't look for that. So I think, you know, it's hard to leave things you used to do for a long time, but I'm going to try more of disappearing except for my own channel, so that if anybody really, besides the critics, cares what I'm doing, they'll at least, you know, maybe make a comment now and then in the video or something like that. But it's painful to watch most of the channels, even that aren't doing live hangouts, because they've gone off the deep end, abandoning the Bible, and so they get large followings, and it's just hard to watch. But anyway, I don't really have a lot else to say other than what I started saying before most of you got here, which was that I'm going to I uploaded Job this morning, and I'm going to probably just at least do the Gospels next. I don't know if I'll just go back and forth or just do a bunch of New Testament and then go back. I don't know. But I'll make a separate playlist, so it's not like there's any big hurried schedule that you have to watch anything. The order of it's more important than anything else as far as Old Testament goes. You could probably read the New Testament anytime, you know, along with that. But anyway, that's what I'm up to, and it would be nice if there was a Christian community, but I haven't found it, and it's been years and years of looking, so, and even, you know, people who get along and like each other can't, you know, life gets in the way, and they can't get in the same place at the same time to put across any kind of show of unity, so, Banana Republic, yeah, it sure is. Hey, Polly. It is a banana republic, and people don't realize when they talk about, you know, not paying their taxes and that. I was watching a video the other day, a hangout of a site I didn't know, but I decided probably won't go back there, but the site that was talking about, you know, defacing property and whatnot. And the thing is that if you're using fiat currency, it's basically game tokens, and if you use their game tokens, you're playing in their game, and you have to abide by their rules. And so if you don't want their rules and don't want to play their game, you have to get out. That means no more fiat currency. You could use Bitcoin, you could use precious metals, property, whatever you got. And even property, they all claim it as theirs, the them people. Yeah, the chip and all sorts of things, and brain implants, and that's my opinion what the Mark of the Beast will be. It will be sold as a DNA upgrade, and that everyone in the world must have it, or they can't be in the world because it's, you know, whatever reasons, that next stage of evolution or enlightenment or ascendancy or whatever. They'll appeal to everybody, but they will sell it as a DNA upgrade, and it will be as a reminder of the Mark of the Beast, not our personal ID. Even though it says you can't buy or sell without it, the ID is like having citizenship papers. Not so much that it's your bank account, but that, or your personal records even, it's your pledge of loyalty to the beast. And so that's, and I get part of that from the fact that later on in the bowl judgments, anyone who took that mark breaks out in these terrible cancerous sores, and they want to die, but they can't. And it may have something to do with the DNA upgrade, because, or, you know, downgrade, because they're unable to die. Maybe it's sold as immortality. Well, here you go, and now you're going to suffer for eternity. So, you know, people don't think ahead. They just think, wow, we're going to be superhuman, we're going to be mutants, we're going to be X-Men, we're going to be, you know, superheroes. And so that's what all that stuff in Hollywood is priming people for. But they will take the DNA upgrade, and it will make them wish they could die, but they can't anymore because they wanted to be immortal. And in so doing, they took the beast as their god, and the Bible says such people are doomed. They're absolutely doomed at that point. They're no longer fully human, and they've chosen sides. So, yeah, Fountain of Youth, yeah. I don't know why anybody would want to stay here forever. I don't know any real Christians who do. Heaven will be much improved, and we won't want, I mean, I don't know anybody who wants to stay here now. Hey, Carlos. But But yeah, that's what's coming. I mean, if you watch any alternative news, I don't recommend watching mainstream news, of course, but there's a site called X22 Report, I think it is. They have some good stuff about QAnon, but still, people don't realize what's coming. This is all prophetic. Causes all, but yeah, it'll be a requirement, that mark. It'll be a requirement. You know, take the mark or get out of here, which to them means we will kill you, and you know, you at least cannot do commerce. You can't buy or sell anything. So that's just all Scripture gives us. But the point is that, yeah, we will have to choose. It has to be a free will choice, or it isn't a choice, because robots and puppets don't choose. And so, you know, a little slam on Calvinism there. But the thing is that whether it's the Mark of the Beast sold with a cover story or the Rapture explained away with a cover story, it's all in place. That the economy is a house of cards. There's all sorts of reports. I read Zero Hedge still a little bit, although some of the the people commenting on the stories are the same kind of people you encounter on YouTube or face plant or anything else. But the thing is that they're all saying the same things, that they're just wondering what can keep the economy going anymore. They're wondering, you know, they're looking at the pattern of history and saying this is just the way it was before World War I, World War II, that we're walking into another cycle of worldwide collapse. And I don't doubt that at all. Whether it is the final worldwide collapse, who can say? But the thing is that technology being what it is, and Israel being what it is and where it is an indicator that there isn't going to be more cycles to me. So I'm looking at prophecy and, you know, all over the Bible and seeing that this is probably the last iteration of the spiral, if you think of it as a spring or a spiral that, you know, or picture that ridiculous model that cosmology tells you of the sun having the planet spiral behind it as it moves through space. That's kind of how history and prophecy go. So let's see, blockchain Chinese as they use DNA to keep secure. That's interesting. Yeah, if you don't know what blockchain is, anybody else, it's a public ledger that is kept for mainly, first of all, for Bitcoin, but it's being worked on for other things. Not the least of which is sites like BitChute and Steemit and anything to do with decentralized internet or commerce, which is on the surface a good idea, but anything can be gamed and corrupted. And blockchain is being a public ledger means that the data is spread through millions of computers all over the world, and so anybody trying to change a transaction has to change all the computers. It's just about impossible, but it's, you know, I'm not deep into the technology, but that's what that is. And yeah, the Chinese are going full North Korea on their people, and Google is working closely with them. All the social media works closely with them. Silicon Valley, they're all in it. So they're taking people, you know, countries like North Korea and China as role models and not warnings. Yeah, all the confusion that's in everybody's evil playbook. Yeah, money reset in 2018 is just about over. I'm thinking might be 2019 for some things, but how long any Christians will be here, I don't know. Yeah, it's people, collectively, the human race has totally lost its mind, and this is the days of Noah, just like Jesus said it would be, the days of Noah, not just on the surface of, you know, the immediate context there, which is catching people off guard, but also, you know, Noah and Lot is compared to the things were really, really degraded, and violence filled the earth, and people were just horrible, and so they're, you know, that's the condition we would expect. And that's what we have. But we have it not in isolation. It's with the technology. It's with Israel in the land. Fake or not does not matter to Bible prophecy. They're there, and they have to be judged and punished, and that's why they're there in unbelief. And so, the economy, the political alignments, the condition of people, it's just all converging. China has been allowed to, and they have been there for a long time. Yeah, and like Soros saying that, he was just the happiest time of his life was when he was betraying his own people, the Jews. So go figure. But how bad in the days of Noah it's like it says it there in Genesis 5 and 6 and around there, was the world was filled with violence. People were only thinking of evil all the time. They didn't have a good thought in their heads. And the only reason I think that things haven't kicked off is because the church is still here. Why is the church still here? Because there is a certain number of Gentiles to be saved. And I went over that more in my video, The Linchpin of Prophecy. So, they still had buying and selling, planting and harvesting, as Jesus said in Matthew 24. People were going about their business, even though the world was a terrible, terrible place. So there's a fine line between normalcy or normalcy bias and absolute chaos. So we're kind of on that knife edge right now, and I think that's another indication. And so we have to keep going as though we'll be here for ever. Keep doing whatever God puts in front of us to do. But whenever he comes back, somebody's going to be interrupted in whatever plans they had. Somebody's going to be inconvenienced, no matter when it happens. And as Christians, we should always be ready for Jesus to return, because we don't know. So, anyway, I think if we all, like I've told people, kick the back seat and say, are we there yet? That, God will maybe... there's precedent for that in the Bible of people saying, the people of Israel were crying out to him for all those years. And I think there's something to be said for persistence in all of us together, praying for him to come back. It might just happen. Wars and rumors of wars, natural disasters. Yep. And the heart's failing is in an interesting context because they fail for a specific reason. The roaring and tossing of the sea. Think a bowl of water being shaken like that, or, tipped back and forth. Do that on a world-size scale, and the seas are going to be absolutely terrifying. And I think that's, what they mean by roaring and tossing of the sea, that not just tsunamis, but going back and forth and sloshing every which way. There's another scripture that talks about the earth reeling like a drunkard, that it can't find its balance anymore. So, yeah, are we there yet? Everybody just keep praying that. Are we there yet? I'm hungry. I got to go to the bathroom. Yeah, turn the car around, get out, and anything we can do. Polar flip. The idea that the Earth has changed magnetic fields is based, in my opinion, on an inaccurate understanding of scientific data, because there's been experiments done where people will take a whole bunch of those little bar magnets, cylinders, and take a bunch of lines of them, stick like 5 or 6 of them together, and then have another row and another row. And what he would do, this experiment, that they would have like a piece of paper towel, a tissue or something, and have it droop between 2 sets of books, okay? And they would roll one of these lines of magnets down to the center, and then roll the next one, and a lot of times they would flip. Every other row would just flip over. And so those are your magnetic field reversals, and the fact that they're etched in stone almost literally is not that, the Earth undergoes a magnetic pole flip every 10,000 years or something. That can happen in days or weeks. We saw some evidence of that after Mount St. Helens explosion, the eruption, and how the layers of rock were laid down with very sharp lines between them. Not, you can't have those sharp lines with gradualism, but the thing about magnetic fields is I don't know that there's any firm evidence that it's ever reversed. And how would anybody really know? You can't go by the magnetic imprints in the rocks because they don't tell you anything about, any kind of regular cycle or anything predictable. It was when the Earth was formed or the aftermath of the flood. But whether that is even an issue, I don't know, because the Roaring and Tossing of the Sea wouldn't have to depend on that. All they have to do is, if the Earth is on pillars, the pillars could be shaken, or if you want to take the standard cosmology model, something could pass by that would have a strong magnetic field and cause it to get out of orbit or change its wobble. So I really don't see a magnetic field being, at least as far as Bible prophecy is concerned, that there is any real evidence of that. But anyway, I really didn't intend to ramble that long about stuff, but hey, you're here, so I was like, well, it's the closest thing we have to any kind of fellowship, so I'll take it when it happens. But as far as the lessons go, I will continue to try to keep them to around half an hour, so that if anybody wanted to, is downloading them, they could use them, put them on a CD or whatnot and use them as lessons. Because most classes and whatnot are within, would want to cover something within an hour and people want time to talk about it. So, okay, cool. Not sure what else to talk about right now unless you got ideas in the chat, though, but as I've said a little earlier about the downvotes and the irony of people switching sides and all that, they just, and it's a Christian problem too, because there are people who say they used to be Christians, although if you ask them for details, it usually was a superficial Christianity, and in my opinion would have to be. But people will say they have strong feelings and they absolutely knew, but that's not proof of anything. That's just proof of an emotional roller coaster high, because convictions are tested and they take time. That's what Job was about, testing convictions, severely testing convictions, and emotional highs don't qualify for that. So I don't like the emphasis in Christianity on emotional highs, although that's really nice, but that's the shallow soil. Plants that spring up quickly because they don't put down deep roots. They spring up quickly, but as soon as the sun comes out, they wilt. And that's what persecution is, or testing. Yeah, they want socializing, but they don't even want that. If you have convictions, you're like the pariah that they have to get rid of. You're raining on their parade of, let's just go with whichever way the wind is blowing at the moment. So that's why people switch sides. I don't care what conviction it is. If it isn't based on something outside of you and objective, then you're going to change to whatever you think it is. And people who think, solipsism, I've mentioned before, where truth is whatever you decide it is at the moment, and they think that's great and wonderful, but they don't realize that they're being, it's like a pinball on a machine. You have no control whatsoever of your life or what you believe, and it has an effect on you after a while, effect on other people too, who were counting on you to do something and thought you were so solid and reliable, and then you just bail because something got difficult or somebody persuaded you. And it affects other people. So, people are being very, very selfish and self-absorbed when their religion is themselves. And they mock us who have objective beliefs that don't depend on our feelings or don't depend on making ourselves the arbiter of truth. We look at other things outside of us that don't change, like the Bible. And you know what I think of the Mandela effect, but it's not changing. So And I don't see the lack of change making Christians any less open to truth, any less decent people. I mean, it isn't the Bible's fault how people act anymore, that it's, flat Earth's fault how flat earthers act. I mean, they've been my worst enemies. Christians and flat earthers were, it's not the ball earthers who are voting down my videos. Half of them's, flat earthers and Christians doing that. So you tell me what kind of community that is that eats its own. Speaking of Catholic, Vatican orders U.S. bishops to delay taking action. Oh, yeah. Everybody, every big institution, any kind of religious institution, atheist institution, I don't care. The leadership will sweep things under the rug that suit them to do so. So, yeah, so things that have been going on, it's like, you know what, I'm so done with communities because they don't exist, because people don't make commitments. And they don't make commitments because they have no anchor. And they don't have no anchor because they think it's wrong to have an anchor, because it's so trendy to float on the sea without a rudder. That's how it is. And the thing is about when people are being having their faith shaken in whatever it is, people who have conviction should at least try to catch them when they fall. But as we are finding out, most people don't want to be caught. They would rather hit the ground and splat than have you, with your Bible, try to talk any sense into them or offer them any comfort. They don't want that. So, let's see, anything else going on you guys want me to ramble about? Because I'm kind of out of ideas right now. But anyway, I will be doing some New Testament stuff, I think, next. I'll probably do the Gospels. How can people take themselves seriously? I do not know. And in fact, I think if you ask them, they would say, no, don't take me seriously. I mean, there's people who pride themselves, as I said, on knowing nothing. And yet they're the worst mockers of the Bible. You can't say what's false if you can't say what's true. So if you're mocking something, then you are making a claim to an absolute standard. So that's, no less egotistical than any Christian saying, I believe the Bible is the Word of God and I'm sticking to it. It's a double standard. Yeah, they don't like, the Vatican especially does not like Revelation because they appear there in some form or another. False Christianity is front and center there. Because even though Revelation is almost, and the Bible is almost exclusively about the Jews, the 7 letters are letters to churches. And there's a reason for that, because there is a fake substitute Christianity that will be present during the tribulation. And that will be, we all know, even the most, secular conspiracy theorists will tell you there are 3 city-states in the world: Corporation of London, Washington, D.C., and the Vatican. And London is the financial head, the hub. The U.S. is the military industrial, and the Vatican is the religious spiritual. So when it comes to a religious entity, the false prophet is that entity in Revelation, and we can see by description who that is. And I've been over that in my prophecy stuff. I don't know why it wouldn't show your comment there, Truth Reese, but and so that's why also I've said that I think the Western world will be the kingdom of the beast. And one of the reasons, and then of course London is, they're part of the West, sort of, but they're also North. So it gets kind of blurry there, but we have Gog and Magog in the North. We have the kingdom of the beast in the West. We have the Oriental peoples in the East. And I think the kings of the South are still Northern Africa primarily, they will all surround Israel and want to wipe it out. And they can't have the green light for that, and as long as the church is here. So, yeah, this is like the Hegelian dialectic, and we have a surrounding of Israel. Everybody is primed to hate it for whatever reason, and nobody cares what the reason is. The fact is that God said there would be a nation of Israel in unbelief in the land, and I believe that it will be pretty much the way it was in the first century when they were cut off until the times of the Gentiles are complete, and then pick up where they left off in Israel in unbelief, having rejected their Messiah. It did say message deleted, but it said message held for review, and I thought I reviewed it, so I think I did. It just said held for review. I don't know what happened there, but I approved it, so I think I see it there. While many priests, blah, blah, blah. The scarlet and gold, and the fish hats, the worship of Dagon from Babylon. That's why they have fish hats. That's why they wear the fisherman's ring. And I think it was either, not Philip Schaff, Harry Ironside, the historian, traced the adepts and priesthood of Babylon into Pergamos, which is mentioned. Yeah, that's probably it, Carlos. Pergamos, which is mentioned in Revelation as where Satan has his throne, which was true in John's day in the first century. And then they moved to Italy. So there you go. That's the ancient Babylonian religion masquerading as Christianity's head today. So, and I think that will be the entity of the false prophet. With, like I said, the Western world in general, maybe the U.S. I don't know. The U.S. is so weak right now, but we have the symbol of the so-called eagle, which is really a phoenix that will rise from the ashes. Well, first you have to add ashes. So the U.S. will fall. Who knows whether it's while we're still here or not. I kind of doubt it, just because it seems like we've been such a house of cards as a nation that only the church's presence is keeping it such, because of God's purposes, not that the church is such a wonderful thing these days, but because it is corrupt. It is the Church of Laodicea and all sorts of other things, and there can't be that many more Gentiles that have to come in, is just my opinion. But Pergamos, yeah, it is, but that's what I said in John's day. It was in actually Western Turkey, all those 7 churches. And one of the churches was where Satan has his throne. And so that's where it was at that time. It came from Babylon to what is now Western Turkey, which was called Asia in the Bible. And then from there, post-biblical times, it moved up to Italy. So, it's a mess. And one of the prophecy teachers I listen to sometimes that said something about, there was a news report talking about hooks in the jaw regarding Russia. So, Bible prophecy. So, anything else? Because like I said, I mainly just wanted to say that I'm going to do some New Testament lessons and make a playlist of that once I have at least one video to put in it. You know, that thinking of that, I think I don't know if I put Job in the right playlist today. I'll have to check that. But so all right, thank you. Yeah, I will do that. I'm going to do the Gospels. I'll do, the Testaments in order, but other than that, I mean, it's like I don't have a whole lot else to do online anymore as far as that goes. I just kind of look around and shake my head and go, hey, look at all those downvotes. And I even get those on BitChute. There's one person who downvotes every one of my videos. I think they must have come there from YouTube. But other than that, that's just what I'm up to these days. And if you hear of any interesting hangouts or channels, just post it under the videos and let me know, and I'll check it out. But as I've told people before, it's like, for all my life I've been the listener, the one that bent over backwards and reached across the aisle and let everybody tell me everything, and now it's their turn. They can come looking for me, and if they don't, that's fine. I don't expect them to, but I'm not going to go out trying to look for people. That hasn't gone well. And the downvoters will keep me company. I can count on them. So anyway, yeah, I think it's, like I said in my last Under the Job video, which was, like I said, downvoted 8 times within like 5 minutes of uploading. I think it's somebody with 8 personalities or, you know, sock accounts or whatever, that the irony escapes them again of they claim my moral high ground, that they're punishing me or something. And it's like, what kind of pathetic soul does that? I mean, it's YouTube, it's not the world. And, you know, is this bothering me? It's giving me views. I had 11 views right off the bat. And I don't care who's viewing, it's view count, you know? And the downvotes don't mean anything. Everybody knows that. So, the Octotroll, very good. Now, I got a 9 on one of them. So, you know, I'm really disappointed. I should have like 50. They're just not paying attention. And there's a bunch of videos that don't have any downvotes. So I'm just like, they must have been on vacation, or, you know, they were in prison or something. Who knows? People like that. But can't find anything to do better to do with their life than track people who they don't like. I mean, I had somebody as was in a chat, and it's like, hey, why did you sub to me? You obviously hate everything I do. And they're like, I'm just, you know, like, I forget exactly how they worded it, but it was just on the order of I do it just so I can mock you. So those are the people who think they are righteous. But anyway, no matter. I'm not going to change anything I'm doing. So, but other than a quick hi-bye and some chats, I probably won't be anywhere else. Yeah, it is psychotic. And you don't know that about anybody online. They could be in an asylum. They could be in prison. They could be, you know, on drugs. You just don't know. Or drowning their conscience in liquor. There's just people who do that. That get online and think it's cool to drown themselves in alcohol. They're trying to silence their conscience. Hey, Andres, I was just thinking about shutting down pretty soon. That's when people come. It's just like, well, I've been just kind of, you know, talking to the chat on anything you want me to say, Andres. I mean, you know, some of the places I used to go that I just say hi-bye, because at least the Flat Earth community has made it abundantly clear they don't want me in it. And kind of similar for the so-called Christian community online. They don't want me there. I mean, they ban me, they shadow ban me, they laugh about it. They go to a certain 24/7 channel and laugh about it. And I'm like, why would I want to be among people who stoop to those things? I just have no interest in that kind of so-called community, or same team, which is a farce. But so pretty much, I mean, YouTube kindly removed the contact feature from the About page, so anything you'd have to, you know, if you wanted to get a hold of me for any reason, all you can do is pretty much leave a comment under a video. I will see it. I usually do. Sometimes, though, in the dashboard or whatever you call it, the video manager or anything, community, they don't always tell you you've had a comment. There's no notification or anything, so it's possible I could miss something, but if you make more than one comment, maybe I'll see it. But not like I said, mostly the people who pay attention to my channel are the ones who are downvoting, and they're blocked, so they can't comment. There is a way to set it up. Okay, I know there's some kind of message thing that doesn't appear always. I think I have to be on somebody else's channel, and I see this little icon in the upper right with a little squiggly line in it or something. It's a messaging thing, but it comes and goes. I don't know how you really manage that thing. It's not like they told anybody. Yeah, they're always changing stuff. And it's so different on the phone than it is on the computer, and it's just chaotic. It's a mess. Since Google took over YouTube, it's been terrible. There are some nice features, like the premiere thing would be handy if I had a following, that I would have, you know, you'd premiere your video by pre-recording something and you upload it and call it a premiere, and then you set the time, and then you can sit in the chat with everybody else and talk to them while your pre-recorded self does the video. So it's very nice, but they're messing up communications really badly. Yeah, constant changes, you can't communicate. That's half the reason I'm going to BitChute. I also joined Gab finally. I looked around, there's different things like Minds and all sorts of things. And I'm really not a social media person, but I am on Gab. So, just as an alternative, I don't know if you can do private messages there even. I really don't care. But, and there are people who know me who I have in Google Hangouts, a private conversation for each one. But sometimes you go to look for somebody whose name you type precisely, it's exactly their YouTube name, and you can't find them. I don't know why. You just can't find them, so I don't know what's up with that. But, yeah, Gab was fairly easy, and I think it's somewhat decentralized, but the main thing is that they were shut down by the social justice warriors, and I wanted to support them. Because they... You know, they had to, I think it was Facebook, Twitter, PayPal, and their web host all just dropped them because the alleged shooter of that synagogue had posted things on Gab where he'd also posted things on Twitter and Facebook. So it's total hypocrisy. It's the deep state. And so I decided to go to Gab, just a, you know, in your face sort of thing. But live chat, and the thing is, though, whenever, doesn't matter what day, what time, I try to run a live hangout, most of the time nobody comes. So, and I'm tired of trying to join somebody else's. It's just, I get banned or shadow banned or, you know, trolled to death. So I don't know what to do about that. I think you have to have G+ sub. And the thing is, I don't know what they're going to do. They said in 10 months they're going to do away with G+. And I saw that from a couple different sources, that Google Plus has been a failure as a social network, and so they're going to do away with it in 10 months, which, you know, so basically sometime, I think, fall of next year, there won't be any G+. So I'm not putting it, I had never paid much attention to it anyway, but they'll have to work out some other way of private messaging people. And I don't know what that's going to be. They don't know what it's going to be. They just, you know, aren't very good at taking over other people's social media. They're only good at censoring. So, but yeah, if we were looking for ways, I think I have a Skype account. I had one a long time ago, and I went to log in once after about a year, and it said that no, you've been kicked out because your channel, your Skype account was used for spam. And I'm like, whatever, and I just deleted it. I don't care. I never use it. But I think it was in some software, and I said, what the heck, I'll sign back up for that. So I'm in Skype somewhere, I think. I don't even know my username. I'd have to look. I wrote it down someplace. But, anyhow, I don't know what to tell anybody about networking as far as social networking goes, or communication, or live streaming. I mean, I like live chats too, but I can't find anywhere I'm not banned or trolled to death. And the people I know, not very many of the people, but, you know, they're scattered here and there, and what kind of community is that? But anyway, I think I'm going to shut this down. I've been babbling long enough, but thanks for coming, and let me know if you figure something else out as far as live streaming or communication goes. I hate Discord. I've heard so much about it being spyware or malware that if you get the app. So I don't know what to tell you about live streaming. And most people, I think, live stream. It's best when there's more than one person on panel. But the thing is that you can't find two friends to rub together to get on a panel. I mean, there are people I never heard of that have a channel with no content that finally start up a live stream, and they've got 5 people on their panel. I don't know where they come from. I just know it's not working for me. So if you find a way to do live streams and people actually reliably show up, let me know. Anyway, thanks for coming, and we'll see y'all later.